met Sean on your podcast. You had me out to Houston. It's the Success Formula podcast. Flew me down there, man. I appreciate it. And then we became pretty good friends, talked back and forth quite a bit. And right now we're sitting in his guest house at his house in Austin, Texas, Lake House, right?
Correct.
Lake Travis. This is the game room. It's pretty legit. And my family came down to hang out with his family, and we've had a great time so far. I wanted to ask you a little bit, like, you're a successful entrepreneur. We've talked about things like you've done commercial real estate. You talk about residential real estate, high-end flipping, oil and gas company, and probably that's only a portion of what you've done in the past. So tell me a little bit more, what made you want to get into social media, put yourself out there? Because I love seeing already successful entrepreneurs be like, oh, this is a good idea, and I love hearing why.
I think the biggest thing is the traditional education system is something I just don't believe in at all. And, I think that if we had a better system for definitely young men and women, it would be a huge benefit to society, and it'll help actually the 99% that are unsuccessful. Yeah, I think you can convert a bunch more people and actually make them successful. And so totally my whole point of going on social media my whole idea is like, I needed enough influence to at some point create a school or education really to try to disrupt the traditional educational, whether it's college or whatever. It's just, if you buy the right program for $2,000 to $5,000, it can make you hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions, as opposed to going to school for 4 years, you're in debt, you come out, you don't have a job or you get a job and you can't pay off your debt because you have just enough money to feed your family, pay your car note, pay your house note.
With zero time.
Zero time. And so the whole point of getting on social media was I really knew that I needed the influence. And so I know it's going to be a long road. It's going to be years, but I think once I get it, definitely education is the goal. Not just for me, but to create like-minded people.
And you've grown great relationships. I mean, that's another huge facet to it. Like, you have great relationships now because of that. I'm sure that continue to grow.
Yeah. And so, we had Candace reach out to you because I was like, I really like this guy. I like a lot of his content. I have the same values and beliefs. And so we had Candace reach out, and luckily we got Austin to come in. We flew him in and became friends ever since. Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, you get closer all the time. I mean, glad you had me and my family out here. Going back to what you said, though, I think people will want to know, you and I kind of laugh about like, okay, so that product wasn't around when we started, so how did you go from where you were to where you are now, success-wise, without the ability to, because some people are sketched out about the online products, like scam this, or they've spent money on certain things that maybe wasn't as delivered, or they didn't do the work. But to rewind, I want people to know really like how you did it without that.
So a lot of trial and error and mistakes.
A lot of money spent.
I do like a lot of the, of course, with anything that's that big, you're always going to have some scammy people. But I think overall, most people, if you find the right person that's giving you the right value and content, taking the right program from those people will definitely shorten your learning curve. And so that's the biggest thing. Back when we were starting out, there was no access to information, and you need to short your learning curve. And so that's the biggest thing. It's not like you're going to take this course or someone's course or this educational thing and magically probably change your life. It's you're going to get certain things from probably each course and take the value from this and take the value from this. What it's going to do is shorten your learning curve from 10, 20 years all the way down to like a year. And you're going to go, okay, I'm not going to make that mistake. I'm not going to make this mistake.
Sure.
I think that's where all the value comes from in these courses / internet education, which a lot of it's free nowadays.
It is. YouTube's great.
If you there's so much value. And then, a lot of the courses and coaching stuff is good because people, after they see it, they need somebody to help them implement it.
True.
And so definitely value if you have access to that person that is actually going to get on a call with you and coach you through something, as opposed to just like taking a course online.
Yeah, I tell people, like, when I'm kind of talking to them about my program, I'll tell them, I'm like, there's times where you'll have a lot of the information, you'll have everything going, you'll have watched the courses and the curriculum, but all it takes is you to ask one question, and then you're like, okay, I got it, now I just go pivot it, Or sometimes just one conversation can save you from purchasing a bad deal, selling a deal when you shouldn't have, or there was another option or another opportunity that your coach or your mentor could have told you about, that you're like, got it, now that makes sense of why I wouldn't or would do this, you know what I mean?
Correct. And back to the learning curve, it's like, whenever I was younger, they're not around anymore, so luckily this was around, but it was no doc loans. And so I was able to start in real estate for very, very little money.
So that's how you got started?
Yeah, it was. Well, I got a first-time home buyers program was the very first house.
Okay. What year was that? Do you remember?
I don't. So I'm 43, graduated in 99, 2000, 2001.
And this is not your primary residence, or
It was primary. So technically, I was living there and did the whole renovation while I lived there. So I'd work all day, come home and do the renovation myself. Only trades I hired were electrician to do some.
And you do all the other stuff.
Everything,
you do like trimming, tile,
paint,
wow,
sheetrock, everything.
Yeah.
And so after that house that I made $30,000, got my initial investment back, and then I used no doc loans the rest of the way, all the way till 2008.
Yeah. Can you explain to people that may not know what a no doc loan is,
so
what they are?
Back before 2008 crash in real estate, you could put 5% down on a house, no questions asked. They called it a no doc loan, which means like zero documentation. Like you show your driver's license and you get a loan.
Jesus.
Like that's it.
Yeah.
And here's my address, here's my driver's license, and they're like, okay, you're approved.
Yeah. There were strippers with multi-million-dollar houses.
Yes. So
seriously.
bad for the general public because they don't understand finance and money. Good for me because I'm like, holy shit, I can actually go buy houses. So I wasn't buying it off more than I could chew.
You were doing the smart things, what you told me.
I was like, I wasn't buying 20 houses. I bought, I'd buy 2. And then I had the money and the cash and savings, but I was able to put little money down. And so I was able to keep funding these properties and buying more and more.
Nice.
And nowadays, just with education, you can go show somebody how to buy a house with no money down through hard money lending or private lending.
Yep.
I didn't have access to that. And so long learning curve, right? Luckily, the no-doc loans were around. But if I didn't have that, I would have just been struggling. I would have been capped out at 1 or 2 houses and ever been able to scale.
And what's crazy is like, there's always a solution for it somehow or another, but it does change. Like the types of loans that you can implement, the strategies a little bit. Hard money I didn't know anything about hard money until literally I already done like a lot of real estate. Like, so I'd use traditional banking or commercial loans or construction loans and things like that. And so once the no-doc loans went away, what was your next step? Like, how do you go from, single family, couple house Sean to where you are today with commercial oil and gas and oil businesses?
So I started an e-commerce company shortly after I bought my first house, and I was part owner in a gym, and they carried supplements online, and so we were able to create an online website before there was Shopify, before there was Wex and all these sites that you can just create it for free, basically free.
Yeah.
So we had to go in and pay a website developer. The first one was terrible, didn't work. And then we got our second one going, and it was early days before Amazon got big, and Google AdWords was like the hack back then. And so I was able to leverage Google AdWords, Google Shopping, and so that's how that grew. Before there was affiliate, I had affiliates on message boards, so it was more of a manual process than it is nowadays, but it's pre-social media. And so we were able to do really good with that company, use a lot of that cash to keep investing in real estate. Met actually Mike and Bo that are still my current partners that got me into commercial, taught me how to do deals on commercial because I was only doing residential for the first 4 or 5 years.
Let me ask you this though, for everybody watching this, if they haven't done any real estate, why would you only do residential at the beginning?
So I think the misconception too is it takes a lot of money to get into commercial, but it's pretty much the same as residential.
But starting out, do you feel like people should dive right into commercial, or should they do a few deals? Residential?
It definitely helps to do residential because you understand the value and you understand how to put together deals, how to buy deals right, how to manage a construction project, because there's so many trades.
Yeah.
Funding, refinancing it if you have to.
True.
It's a little safer because you can always, if you're flipping houses or renting, you can always rent a house that's under $1,500 a month. Like no matter what.
Always.
2008, they actually rented better because nobody could get a mortgage. So
good point.
Yeah, any market, you can always rent a house for under $1,500. I don't think I've had a house sit on the market for longer than 2 weeks ever, if as long as it's under that price point and you have a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house.
Exactly.
You can always rent it. So it's safer because a commercial building it could sit for a lot longer.
It's a more seasoned investor play, but so you parlayed your single family kind of education and knowledge, and then you partnered with Mike and Bo.
I did.
And then you went into commercial, and where did that take you? Like, where's that go next?
So the good thing about commercial that is a lot better than single family is it's all based on income of the property. So the value is based on the income of the property, and you can go and create crazy equity or cash flow because of the value you can create in that property. So instead of doing 10 single family homes, you could buy one building, do the same amount of work, one renovation, and make $1 million off a building.
Right. Yeah.
The downside is it could sit for 4 to 6 months. It's not going to rent the first week. And so it is going to take a second. And I do think getting some residential deals under your belt is super helpful for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. Something you and I talked about off camera, but I want to talk to people about here now is that it is very possible to get houses with little to no money whatsoever.
For sure.
But what we both agreed on, and when I said that, as I was like, I tell people this all the time on social media, they can get houses with little to no money down. But I said, I also caveat that with like, you should have some liquidity. You should have some discipline. And because you and I both know that, sometimes you hang on to it longer if it's a flip. Sometimes the budget goes over on the construction. And so I ask people, I'm like, so yes, you can do residential real estate with little to no money, and maybe even commercial sometimes, but it's nice to have that liquidity. And what you did, correct me if I'm wrong, is you were able to parlay your residential real estate and have more liquidity once you started peeling those off and selling them, so that you could do the same concept into commercial, and now you have more liquidity just in case it goes over. Now the construction budget wasn't $10,000 on the house, it's now $100,000.
Correct.
And it could be 5% over, 10% over, 20% over on the commercial, but it could be the same concept on the residential, but the residential is a much smaller number.
Yep.
And commercial just requires more liquidity if you needed to.
Yep. And so I do think people get that misconception is like, yeah, you can do it no money down, but you do want some reserves while you do the no money down.
If you don't have the discipline to save 10, maybe 20 grand of your own cash in reserves to do this thing, in my opinion, it's probably
what the no money down does is allow you to scale the business. And so, even if you have 100 grand in your savings account or 20 grand in your savings account, keep it in there. Do the no money down deal.
Yes.
Then you're always safe, because if you go over budget, you hold the house for a little bit longer than you should, then you're fine. Mm-hmm. But you didn't use all your capital to go put a down payment, and then you have no money.
Dude,
again.
okay, so this is where most people go wrong with real estate investing, and I tell them that's because they're amateurs. They go and take what you just said, that $20,000, and they go buy one rent house.
Yes.
And they go buy it from a retail real estate agent, and they buy it at market value, and they buy it with 20% down on a $100,000 house. So they parked it, and then now their mindset is like, well, if in order to be a real estate investor, I have to go make another 20 grand to get 2 homes. And what you just said, you can't scale it. You're stuck.
Yeah. And so that's what the no money down allows a real estate investor to do, is to go scale their business.
Yeah.
And so instead of that $20,000, let's say you had $20,000 you're saved, you're a young man and you want to go, or woman, and you want to go invest into real estate, and you keep the 20, then you go get a no money down house. Mm-hmm. And so hopefully you can do the whole project. And let's say you go over budget 5,000, you use your 5,000,
sure,
you get it rented, then you go refinance it.
You get it back.
And then now you still have your $15,000 left. Go refinance it, get your 5,000 back, and then all of a sudden you have more money to go do another deal, right?
Yep.
And then you can go buy another one, and then but you still have that cash reserve.
Exactly.
In case, and then you have repairs and maintenance, which people don't take into consideration.
You need that money for that.
Yes, and so that way you're not at zero.
Yeah.
And so no money down is super helpful to scale, but it doesn't mean you should go buy a house if you have $0 in your bank account.
Yeah.
It makes it tough. You can get into trouble like that for sure.
For sure. So let's fast forward real quick. So now you're in commercial, boom. How do you go from commercial to all the other businesses? How's that bolt on real quick? Like boom, boom, boom.
So I think that I've been investing in real estate for the last 25 years. And
that's like your first thing, right?
Yeah,
You became a real estate investor and then boom.
I started in real estate. I flipped houses. That's actually how I got the money to invest in a gym that was already existing. And so I bought half of a gym, turned into the e-commerce company, but I had some cash from that first couple of houses that I flipped. And so I was able to go do those transactions. Right. And so it did help me a lot. That was where I got my first start for sure. And then sold the e-commerce company at some point and the retail side of our business. And a guy I actually built houses with, I ended up buying out one of his business partners that he had started the company with. And that's how I got into oil and gas. And then, which after having that much experience for that much time, or that amount of time, led us into just start investing in other companies. And that's what we do now. We invest in companies, but that whole 25 years, I'm still investing in real estate. So I'm starting businesses, investing in businesses, running businesses, but also real estate.
Such an anchor. It's such a foundation,
Well, that and then the tax advantages. So if I can try and offset my active income from any business, you have good years, you have, down years or decent years or flat years. But if I can offset the good years, there's just no better way to grow your wealth.
Yeah. Okay. Good question right here. People are gonna love this. So in 1 year, what's the most money you've ever made? Gross revenue.
Gross revenue?
Yeah. Gross revenue. What's the most amount of gross revenue you made in 1 year? Out of all your companies together?
With a couple businesses, probably 180 million.
Okay. In one transaction, what's the most you made on one transaction? Whether it be a sale of a business, a sale of a piece of real estate, what's the most you net on that transaction? Because if we said gross, just for people who watch this, the reason I said net was because if he sold a $100 million building and he pocketed $5,000, he could say $100 million.
Yeah.
But I want to say, what did he net on the transaction when he sold it? Whether it was the business or it was a piece of real estate.
I think on a transaction,
One sell.
probably $1.5 million net on a real estate transaction, but equity-wise, because we usually try to buy and hold.
Yeah.
And so we don't want to sell anything. There has been transactions we do want to sell, but equity-wise, I mean, we have buildings that we have, $3 million, and after it stabilizes, it's worth $10 million.
Yeah, so that's another good question. Like,
So I don't,
how
not
much
necessarily.
equity have you gained?
Yeah.
Right?
So we try to buy and hold, and we want to create net worth. And so, again, we want to minimize our taxes. I don't want to go sell a huge building that I owe $3 million on.
Capital gains.
Yeah, and you can do a 1031, but so we want to buy and hold everything, especially if it's cash flowing. Like, there's no reason to sell it. We'll just go buy another deal.
Right.
We don't need the cash because we use, creative financing, some of our own cash sometimes, but it's just, it allows us to just keep growing every year and keep getting also that depreciation. So that's the bigger thing. We want to hold the property because we don't want to recapture the depreciation after we sell it.
Yeah, for sure.
So our strategy is always like buy and hold, offset our income, buy and hold, offset our income. We have sold stuff and we have made money, and
but the strategy
you kind of
now-
think back and you go, probably shouldn't have sold it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Every investor's always like, I wish I would have kept
the stuff I sold
everything.
was early on, and you're trying to grow and grow and grow and bigger and bigger and bigger. And so recently we haven't sold many properties at all. Not on the commercial side. Still flip houses every once in a while, and those are just luxury luxury houses that we'll buy and flip. But that's the only thing we sell, or we try to sell.
Yeah, because just so you make a great active income in all of the businesses that you have, and then you're able to buy real estate and then either refinance it and keep low debt on it, or good debt at least,
Yes.
to where you have equity in it. The beauty I love about commercial real estate and the stuff that you and I have been talking about is that you're able to force the appreciation, you're able to force the value of the property so much higher without a cap. So you get capped in residential based on what your neighbor's house looks like, what the other house sold in the neighborhood for. So even if you had a $100,000 house and you could rent it just for fancy numbers for $5,000 a month, you're still not going to get any more value out of that.
Doesn't change the house, yeah.
But in commercial, what Sean's able to do is he's able to get, Class A tenants or good tenants in there, get these leases signed on much longer terms. And then he forces the value of the property because now it's evaluated much more like a business is evaluated. It's evaluated on net operating income,
Yep.
much like a business would be evaluated on EBITDA. So
the better job you do with the building, the better tenant you get, the more value is created for the building. And so there's just so much equity that you're able to go create by doing the same amount of renovation that you did on a house. Same,
right.
3 to 6 months of renovations and same exact amount, but you can go create millions in equity on
Right.
a bigger project. It is bigger numbers. You want to make sure you have some reserves, but there is
sure.
still a way to get those deals done too with no money down. And
Partners, people, right?
Yeah.
Other people.
yeah, we had on the Walmart we bought with Mike and Bo, we had private funding on it and just a group of lenders we knew, like private lenders, and they lent all 100% of it and all 100% of the renovation. But we kept it 1 year, and we kind of look at them as partners because you are paying the high interest rate, but we kept it for a whole year. And I think we owe, $3 million or $3.5 million, but it'll appraise for over $10 million right now.
Yeah, and how short of time?
And it cash flows. And each partner got $640,000 in depreciation.
Wow.
In the first year.
Wow. Just on that one building.
Each partner.
Dang.
Yeah, one building. And so
What does $600,000 in depreciation mean?
So if I went and I made $600,000 this year at one of my businesses, any business, real estate, or any business I own, I actually would pay no tax because I actually have the depreciation of $641,000. And so I didn't have a cash loss, I didn't have anything. And so I kept all of my earned income.
Right.
And I also created millions of dollars in equity. I paid no tax.
Did you make money on the property?
Yes, and it cash flows.
And so that's the beauty of real estate.
And so the only thing people have to realize is, and you can 1031 it, but if you go to sell a property and you took all that depreciation, you're going to recoup that depreciation. So that's why you don't want to sell.
That's why you don't sell anymore.
Yeah, you don't sell, or you can 1031 it if you have something in mind. But it's so hard to find deals, you know. That's the hardest part about real estate is like you just actively finding the deals. But once you do, you don't want to sell them. And like we don't want to get that depreciation back. And yeah, we can 1031, but we can also buy other deals with little to no money down. And so it's like, do we really need to go 1031 into some bigger property?
Right. Why would you?
We can go buy a bigger property anyways. And so we just try to buy and hold and keep the depreciation and get the appreciation and get the cash flow every month.
So based on what you know now, where would you suggest somebody, you know, start? I think you kind of even hinted around with.
I started in residential real estate. I do think it's way safer.
Like, so right now I don't have anything. Like, man, Sean, what would you get?
I would probably flip a house. Like, I mean, not a big house, but you know, I don't know your area, but everyone lives in an area that they know very, very well. They know all the streets, they know the neighborhood.
Right.
Like that's where I would start. I'm actually coaching two people right now and they sent a house to me. I actually grew up in that area, so I knew it, but they are in that area and they're like, we know we can sell this. This is a good deal. I was like, you're right. I grew up in the area, so I know. But they were so confident just because they knew every area. They knew the school district, they knew the streets. And I think they'll probably make $100,000 on the house. And so I helped them get financing. Yeah. But I think flipping a house is really good. I think it helps you manage construction. It helps you learn financing. And if you flip a house in a lower price range, let's just say you can't sell it, you can go rent it.
Exactly.
So I wouldn't go flip a $400,000, $500,000 house.
They probably can't get the funding for that.
You want to do it, yeah, but you want to do a 3-2. Make sure if you can't sell it, then you can rent it. And if you can't sell it, you will rent it in a week or two.
Right.
if it's priced right and you should still be able to cash flow a little bit, you'll go refinance it. And so I think it's just the safest method.
That makes sense.
If somebody has little to no savings,
Totally
just a little
agree.
bit, get the house with no money down. Worst case scenario, you rent it, you cover your bank note, and now you have a property. It's going to be paid off one day.
You just keep going, though.
Yeah, I feel like that's the least risk.
Agreed. I totally agree. So when you were doing real estate, you were already a highly successful-ish person, right? Like, I mean, I'm saying not financially, but you had to have had some disciplines in place. You had to have created somebody that was able to go out and get this bank loan, somebody that had these disciplines, and then you bought into a gym, which makes so much sense. But like, what do you think somebody would need to, because there's a lot of people that come to me as a coach and soon you, like in general, and they'll ask you, like, I don't have anything going on in my life. They can't even fathom buying a piece of real estate. But the person you are before has to change in order for you to be able to become successful. Wouldn't you? What was that person?
You know what? I agree 100%. So, you know, when I was a kid, my dad passed away when I was 18, right when I was graduating high school. And, you know, really, I was a young kid and made a lot of mistakes and hated the world after that. I blamed, like, for whatever reason, I just was a POS as a kid and partied and drinking and using it as an excuse to go do stupid things. And so when I started working out, that's probably the only thing that like kept me from going out 7 nights a week and partying and doing this. I'm like, oh, I have to work out. And so don't get me wrong, I made a ton of mistakes. You know, we wasted a bunch of time partying, drinking, chasing girls. Yeah. And so, but the working out, I would always like, okay, I know I'm still going to work out 4 or 5 days a week. So yeah, I was doing stupid things, but it, like in back of my mind, I'm like, I don't want to go every day. Like,
yeah. And that created that small micro discipline. And then that micro discipline compounds, in my opinion. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And so it definitely helped. I've kind of always had that mindset though. Like I'm super disciplined and once I get into something. And so, you know, I think that it's super beneficial for people to create those habits and create that discipline and then go do something, because then you already have the habit of like, okay, I'm gonna stick to something.
Yeah, and even like you said a minute ago, like you probably had the discipline to save $5,000, $10,000. Yeah. So then you weren't so worried about having, you know, doing a deal, because at least you had some reserves, and then you probably had your house set up, whether it was an apartment or your car payment, and all these little things that you and I kind of take for granted. But those little disciplines are what some of the young folks or even people getting started probably need.
Yeah, they do. I think I skipped over it in the very beginning, but I actually lived at my mom's house, and luckily she let me live there, me still being a young POS that was drinking and partying. But I saved, I think $18,000 is what I saved while I lived with my mom, because I only had a car note and insurance and a cell phone. That's all I had.
That's the kind of stuff I want to hit on.
Yeah.
It takes discipline.
Yeah. So I stayed with her, and it's discipline to stay with her, because you want to, like, you don't want to live with your mom.
You could have taken that 18 and got an apartment.
Yeah, I think I was 18. I lived with her all the way till I was 18, maybe 18 and a half, and then, but I was able to save the money And then I was able to go buy that house that I flipped the first time, but I lived there while I flipped it.
Yeah.
So I was going to be paying an apartment or a mortgage note anywhere. And so I had the 8 to 5 job at the gym. I didn't own the gym at the time when I bought the first property, and made $12 an hour plus commission. I don't even know if it was that back
And then still working at the house.
Yeah. So my job paid my bills, like my $700 a month mortgage or whatever, paid my car and that was it. That's all I had. I had zero left over. Utility bills and just nothing left. And so, but I was able to use those reserves to fix up the house.
Gotcha.
And so actually, if I would have known about the no money down thing,
you would have done it way earlier.
well, I could have kept that $18,000 and not been so strapped for cash, because
makes sense.
I got all the way down to zero. I bought the house with the first time home buyers program. I used all my $18,000 that I saved to work on the house, did everything myself. And then I sold it, but up to when I sold it, I was paycheck to paycheck, getting my paycheck from the gym,
just to eat,
paying the bills, paying for my food. And then I was able to sell it and go get 30 grand that I profited plus the $18,000 back. So I ended up with that. But if I would have known about shortening my learning curve a little bit and known what I know now, it would have been a little bit safer to do it.
But at the same time, your back was against the wall. You didn't have the education. You took the leap and you trusted in yourself. You had the discipline to save the money. You got into a good vehicle that was more safe, which is real estate. And then you made it happen, bro.
Yep.
So, okay, so going forward, what's next? Like, you're doing great now. You have all the things in the world. You have all the toys. You have good friends. It sounds like you got a great family. We love being around you guys. So what's the next level? Where do you want to go from here?
Next level is, part of the reason I started on social media was to one day hopefully have a huge educational, whether it's a school or I don't even know where it's going to go.
It could change for all
that's
of us,
the long-term goal, is to disrupt traditional education. I think I can still help people along the way until I can achieve that long-term goal. And then, I love investing in businesses now and making people successful. And so, we invest in a lot of things that I give equity to the person that's running it. And so when I find the right person, we'll put up all the money, but we'll give someone equity. But the last 2 businesses I invested in, those two people are going to be millionaires in the next couple of years. And so, and they're making a lot of money. And so it was super rewarding to see that. And it's like, I want to do more of that. And so I do not want to be the CEO of a company anymore. It's hard, but I would never retire. I still love investing in businesses, but if I find the right person, they're able to go run that business. I'm still able to be involved as mentor / give any help I can in any way, but I'm not the day-to-day end-all be-all guy that everybody talks to. I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, I can completely understand that.
But still love business. Again, I'd never retire.
Of course. You love what you do now, and you just keep falling more and more in love with it.
Yeah, and I'll never stop buying.
It's even more rewarding.
I'll never stop buying real estate. Number one, I just still really love doing it because you can take this just piece of trash and then convert it and turn it into a gold mine, basically a gold mine.
It look different too.
It's different, and I'm improving the town, I'm improving the property around the neighbors, I'm improving everything, bringing up everybody else's value, and you're creating a bunch of cash flow, a bunch of equity, a bunch of depreciation, and so we'll never stop doing that no matter how many businesses we own or invest in.
Awesome, man. I love it. People watching this video, where can they find you?
Podcast is called The Success Formula, and the reason we named it that is we do want to hopefully inspire and educate people, and when they hear other people's story like yours and people that came from nothing and created something, they're going to know it's possible, and then also hopefully get some super helpful tactical information that they can go implement somewhere.
You guys got to check out the podcast 100%.
Yeah, that's why we started it. It's doing really well. We definitely know it's going to be a long road, but we'll do it. We'll get better and better each time we do it. And official Sean Lynch on all social media platforms is my personal, but got to check out the podcast. You have to check out my wife. She is Gentry Kelly Cosmetics. She is also the other podcast host for Success Formula, so it's mine and hers together. But if you want to be inspired, go check out her social media. She's funny. She gives a ton of value, and it'll definitely inspire someone that is starting from nothing and trying to create something.
Absolutely, because you and your wife are partners, man. You guys work together. You can do everything together. There is no work-life balance. It's just all encumbering, and it's the whole thing. And that's, I think, me and my wife are the exact same thing, and that's what we love about you guys. And we love being here. And I appreciate you, bro. This was a good interview, and I appreciate being here this weekend too.
I'm glad y'all came out. It's been really fun so far.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot more, so stand by.
Yes, sir.